Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm going to be presenting the webinar this afternoon. We're looking at filters and the search option in today's session. So quite useful to help you almost like streamline your accounts, hiding some of those records that you don't need, or maybe finding the records if you've got that many. So we'll spend probably about half an hour running through the content with you all this afternoon. Now, just before we run through the webinar today and the various demonstrations we've got planned, a little bit of housekeeping. So if you've joined webinars before, you'll be aware of this one, but if you haven't, if you're new to webinars, or maybe you haven't attended for some time, just to let everyone know that you don't need a microphone for these sessions. If you've got one and you enable it, you'll just find you're muted automatically and you can't unmute yourself. So that means you can't verbally ask us any questions, but you will still be able to pop in your questions into the questions panel. So you just need to type them in. If you can't see the questions panel in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, just click on your little icon. It's the one that looks like the speech bubble containing the question mark. You should then see that available. There is an option to download a copy of the slides for today's session as well. They seem quite popular, so you can download that via the handouts link. That is also on your toolbar. And there is an option also on your toolbar to switch to full screen mode. So when I'm sharing my screen during the session today, you may find it beneficial as it will make things just that little bit bigger on the screen share. Okay, so we're just about ready to get started. So I'll be on hand. I'll be obviously running through the demos. We're joined by Jackie, and I think we'll be joined by Tina as well this afternoon, who'll be on hand to answer any questions that you might have. So keep your questions coming. We'll try our best to answer as many as we can. Looks like this session's just approaching 100 of you logged in, just about. So it could be quite busy, but keep your questions coming and we'll try our best to answer as many as we can. Apologies if we don't get a chance to answer yours. Right, this is what we're going to be covering over the next half hour to, well, 30 to 40 minutes, I think. We're going to start with filters, give you an idea of how you go about using filters and maybe touch on some of those common ones as well. We'll touch on wildcards, which just gives you that added flexibility. We're going to touch on the search option. And we're also going to touch on inactive records as well. It would seem wrong to mention filters or search without touching on inactive records. So we'll quickly run through that one as well. Some of you, if you've been to the tips and tricks session before, you might be familiar with the inactive records option, but we'll quickly run through that because it's a nice, simple option. And again, just gives you that added flexibility. And just at the end, I'll just mention a little bit about the additional support that's available. As usual, you will receive a follow-up email, normally around about, I think it's about an hour after we finish today, you'll receive that follow-up email, and that will include a number of links. One will be so that you can register for additional sessions. So there's loads to go at. And also, if you've missed any sessions, so if you're just new to webinars and think, oh, this is a good idea, why have I not attended those before? There's loads of recordings. We've been running them for just over a year now, and we've been trying to introduce new topics each week. So all of those recordings are available, and the link will be included on your follow-up email. But keep an eye out on the live timetable as well as we introduce new sessions regularly. Okay, so we'll get started. So we're going to start with filters today. So I'll be using a combination of slides and obviously sharing my desktop as well. So filters, why would you use a filter? Well, two initial thoughts on this one, obviously to hide records. So when we talk about your customers list, you might be in a position where you've got hundreds, if not thousands of records. So there may be records that you just think, oh, I just don't need those anymore. I just want to hide them from my list. Maybe old customers that haven't bought anything from you for quite some time. Maybe customers that have gone bust. So you can choose to hide records. Or you may think of it the other way around, where you want it to display only specific records or transactions in a list. The filter option is available in most areas of the software. It's not available in the bank accounts list, but available in things like customers, suppliers, your invoices list, your nominal codes. So it's a good way of filtering those records, as I say, either to show only the records you want to see, or maybe hide the records that you don't want to see. Now, once you've applied a filter, we'll run through this in the demonstration in just a moment. You can obviously then export your results to Excel. You can use wildcards as well, which we are going to touch on in a bit more detail a little bit later on and explain what those are. So you can use wildcards to help search parts of the data field. You'll see more about that as we run through the demonstration. And there are a number of reporting benefits as well. From a reporting perspective, we receive loads of calls to our support team where people will say, right, I've got this report, but I only want it to show, customers in a certain area, a certain location. So, and people will try to amend the report rather than just using the flexibility of adding a filter first, or filtering your list and then running the report. So it gives you that added flexibility on the reporting side as well. Right, let's have a look at filters. I'll share my screen and we'll maybe concentrate on customers to begin with. So if we go into customers, and pretty much it's the same, the filter option, which is top left-hand corner here above the records. It's going to be in the same location in just about all of the screens where it's available. So suppliers, you've got your filter option at the top. Nominal codes, again, filter option at the top. Transactions list, filter option at the top. So we'll go into customers and we'll have a look at some basic filters and building a filter. Now, as you can see, I've got loads of zero balance accounts on my list there. So you're probably in the same position. So there may be loads of records that actually I just want to hide. I just want to maintain a list of my regular customers. So a nice, easy way, probably the most common filter to apply as well, is to hide zero balances. So to do that, all we do is we'd click filter. It's blank at the moment, the filter. And to start building our filter, which can be multiple lines, but we'll just do the one for the time being. Just going to go choose where, and we'll do balance. Now you can click on the drop down and all of the fields that you can obviously filter on are listed. They'll be in alphanumeric order. Now, a quick way to switch down to like a balance is you would just press B on your keyboard and it would jump down to the ones beginning with B. If I do one beginning with T, for instance, again, it jumps down that list. And if I keep pressing T, any others that begin with T, it would just start scrolling through them back to, in this case, telephone number. But it's the balance I'm going to base it on. So balance, and I'm going to say is not equal to, and I'm just going to leave the value set to 0. Now, in the background, you can see I've got 33 records. So 33 records displayed. So I've got where balance is not equal to 0. So basically, I'm wanting the accounts listed that currently have a balance. Click apply, close out, and I'm now down to 8 of my 33 customers. So imagine if you've got thousands of records, how many could you actually hide? Those customers that you don't need to see on a regular basis. Obviously, you can base it on loads of fields. You can base it on, it might be the other way as well. You might think, I'll look at filters and you think, well, actually, I only want the ones that are equal to 0. These are the customers I'm going to maybe I'm going to do a mail shot for. I'm going to email out and maybe send some special offers or send an email to them. Maybe they're the ones you want to target. So there's loads of options for filters within Sage Accounts. So hiding zero balances is a common one. Invoices, maybe hiding invoices prior to the start of your current financial year, or in transactions. If I apply, go into filter, I'll just clear it, just so we start from scratch. And I'll do where date. So just press D there, then find the date field. I'll do, what I'm going to do is greater than or equal to. And we'll do the first day of my current financial year. Oh, a bit too far. So we'll do from the 1st of January onwards. Click apply, Click close, and we've now only got transactions listed that are dated within my current financial year. We could narrow it down even further if we wanted to. We could apply other options such as, right, we only want a list of invoices or credit notes or bank payments that fall within that period, or journals possibly. So there's loads of uses for that. And if we just go back to customers, and we'll switch that filter back the other way. So we'll say it is not equal to, click apply. So we're back to just having our 8 records. And it means that we can then, obviously we could report on that. So these are the customers that meet specific criteria. So these are the ones I want to report on. Again, as I was saying earlier, quite often we get loads of queries saying, I need to amend, I've got this report, it's got the level of information, but I only want certain records included. So if you can filter your list first of all, so that you only have those records displayed, and then go to run a report, it'll only base your report on the records that are listed. It might be in the past you've gone down and you think, right, I want that one, that one, that one, and then you run a report. So it'll only, if you don't have anything selected, it'll base your report on anything that's listed on your ledger. So loads of uses for filters. The more you use it, the more powerful you'll realize it is, and the more flexibility it adds to your reporting. So just picking up on a couple of common filters. So if we just pop back to the slides for a moment. So hiding customers with a 0 balance. Now, one thing to be aware of, we did it where balance is greater than 0. Now, what that would mean is if we've got any customers that had a negative balance, they wouldn't be displayed because their balance isn't greater than 0, it's a negative. So sometimes there's more than one. You just need to be a little bit careful with the filter that you do apply. So instead of hiding just the 0 balances, what we could do is, we could do in the screenshot that you've got there, where balance is not equal to 0. And it would mean that any accounts that have a positive balance or a negative would then be displayed. So it's sometimes more than one way to crack the same nut with the search option. Let's have a look at another one. So we just mentioned this one. I think we included this one in the example. Only show this year's transactions on my audit trail. It's a very common one, that one. Sometimes we'll often find customers that have used Sage for years will have literally all of their transactions listed. So obviously it can just mean it's that little bit easier when you're working in the software. Multiple lines within a filter. So we're saying in this case, it's common filter, this one, only show BP transactions or bank payments for a specific period. So let's say we only wanted to see the ones within October. So we're doing where transaction type is equal to BP, so bank payment, and the date is greater than or equal to the 1st of October, and the date is also less than or equal to the 31st of October. So that filter there will only give us, in the transactions list, will give us a list of BPs that are dated in the month of October. Again, quite a common one, that one, help you finding transactions. And the other common one that I often come across is hiding older invoices. So again, if you've used Sage for a long time, you might not want to delete records, so you want to keep them in your system, but actually you just want to hide them in the background. So a similar one. So you're hiding older invoices. You might think, well, how far back do you need invoices to be listed live when you go into invoicing? You might display invoices that haven't been updated to your ledgers yet. Customers that are based in a certain area. So there's loads of different options that you've got. And again, the more time that you spend looking at filters, the more flexible that you will find, and easier it is to navigate your software then as well. Now I'm going to pick up on wildcards next. Now there are 3 wildcards available, and this really adds even more flexibility in there. So there are three wildcards. You've got an asterisk, the dollar symbol, and also the question mark. Now, the dollar symbol represents any number of valid characters, including spaces. And the position is important when we use this within a filter. And I'll give you an example of this one in a moment. So an example there is, let's say I was searching for postcodes and I'm looking for customers based in a certain region. So I could say where the postcode, I want it to begin NE. So we do NE asterisk in the filter. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. And what that would do is find any postcode beginning NE, then any string of characters after that. But as it mentions there, position is important. So if I did N asterisk and then 1, what that would then look for is any postcode beginning with the N, then any string of characters followed by a number 1 on the end. It's quite rare, that second example. You're more likely to use NE and then the asterisk. So it's unlikely that you're going to wrap characters around it, but just to make you aware. The dollar symbol is used to represent, which it basically represents a specific line of text anywhere within the data. So an example there, if we were searching a field and we're looking for the word, in this case, bottle, within a certain field, it doesn't matter where it is within that field as long as it contains the string of characters that you've typed in. So dollar and then whatever characters you're searching for. And then the final one is the question mark, which is, I don't think it's as commonly used, the question mark. It represents a single character. So in our case, the two examples, and again, position is important, a bit like the first example, where let's say we're searching for a field that, when we search for 41, then a question mark. Now that means we're looking for something that begins 41, then any single character after it, or 41. And the second example, 2 question marks. So we're then looking for 2 characters. So we'll just run through a basic example. So let me share my screen again. And again, we'll just base it on customers to give you an idea of how this could work. Now, the filter, as you can see at the top, it tells me 8 of 33 customers. If I wanted to switch that filter off, so I can leave it set up in the background, I've got this little sort of, well, it's supposed to be a filter, what I term the funnel icon at the top. We can just click on it, and it means it's no longer applied. So it says all records. The number in brackets just tells me how many records I've got in total. If I want to switch it back on, just click on the little filter icon, and you can see it's applied. So it tells me 8 of X number of records, so 8 of 33 in my case. So nice and easy to toggle off. If you want to get rid of your filter that you've got applied into filter, just clear the form. When it's blank, just click apply, click close. And again, I'm back to that full list. Now, when I apply that filter, it only applies to my view. I think we've probably got some questions coming through on that already, so it doesn't impact on your colleagues. You can save the filter so that they can load it into their views, but it will only apply to your view. It's a bit like if you sort a list by name or by balance or something like that. It only applies to your view. It doesn't impact on any other user. Right, so just as an example, what we're going to do, I'm going to show you how you go about using the wild card. So I'm going to base it on, let's base it on phone number as an example. So we're looking for all phone numbers beginning with the Newcastle code, so 0191, just as an example. So we go into filter and we'll do where telephone is equal to. So because I don't just want to find one, I want to find any that begin 0191. Now, if I just applied it at that point, click apply, as you'll see, it doesn't find anything. So there isn't a telephone number that is just 0191. What we're looking for are telephone numbers that begin with that. So if we go back to filter, so we've still got where telephone number is equal to 0191. And then if we put the asterisk in, now remember the asterisk is any number of valid characters, including spaces. We then click apply, click close, and it's now found 8 of my 33 customers whose telephone number begins 0191. So maybe you were, maybe a salesman were ringing around, for instance, trying to make appointments for customers that are based in a certain area. It's a good way of doing that. And obviously you could base it on things like postcodes rather than telephone numbers, for instance, as well. So have a good look, play around with those wildcards as well. Just applying a filter is not going to cause you any problems. You can always switch it off. So you can see I've got that filter applied and you know it's switched off. When I switch it off, it says all records at the top. If it says, in my case, 8 of 33 customers, in that sort of format at the top, it does mean that there's a filter applied. So have a play around with those wildcards. So it was an asterisk, which is by far the most commonly used one, the dollar symbol, and the question mark. Now you find all the information about wildcards as well. You'll find that available within our help center. Right, let's quickly pop back to the slides. And next, we're going to pick up on search. Now, this used to be referred to as quick search, and quite often still is. So you'll now just see it termed search, which is the little box that just contains the grey text at the bottom, at the top of your ledgers list that just says search. And this is used to quickly search for specific text within the records. Now, the difference between using a filter and using a search is that when you're using the search, it will search multiple fields simultaneously. So it's going to look within the record. It's going to search the address fields, the contact name, the telephone numbers. It'll search all of those to find any that meet whatever you type into the search field. Now, it is recommended that you make sure that no filters are applied if you are using search. So just before you type anything into search, make sure it says all records at the top. Now, wildcards can be used, but you tend to find you don't need them because it will search in the correct way anyway. There's also within transactions as well, there is a find option as well, and I'll quickly demonstrate that one for you in a moment. Anyway, back to my screen. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into filter and I'll clear it, click apply, click close, it says all records at the top, and we'll start using this search box. So if I type, let's say 0191, just as an example, we used that one before, and click search. Well, it finds them. So a lot quicker than me applying a filter. But it's not just searching the telephone number column. It's searching other fields as well. So it could be that someone's maybe there, let's say there were, it was, how shall I, probably the best way to describe it. If I'd search for, say, just 91 as an example, maybe I'm just wanting to search for part of an address. But these phone numbers, because they contain the characters 91, it finds them. Now it also finds this one in this example. Nothing to do with a telephone number, but if we go into it, there'll be a 91 somewhere within the record in one of the fields. So in this case, it's actually searched the VAT number as well. So it's searching multiple fields at the same time. So search is used more for a quick way of trying to find an account. You know, if you're on the phone and you think, what did they say their name was again? But maybe you've got the phone number, you can quickly type that in and try and find them. Maybe you know part of the address based in Milton Keynes as an example. It's nice and quick to get at that information. If I go into that account, you can see it's got the word Milton in part of the address. So it's a quick way of trying to find accounts. But again, with that applied, I could then run a report or send the information across to Excel. It's also commonly used within transactions. So let's say I'm trying to find a transaction that's got number 100. Now straight away, it's going to try and find transactions that have that 100 somewhere within it. So you can see this top transaction, the net is 100. So it's going to try and find that. In this case, this transaction here. In this case, the tax is 100. So it's searching multiple fields. You might be looking for a certain date, certain reference. Let's do it again. So 124. It's found the transaction for me. So again, it's searching multiple fields. Again, if you wanted to search a specific field, that's when you would use a filter to say, right, I'm looking for 124 specifically within the reference field, or we're looking for an amount. So you're looking in the net field or the gross. So number of different benefits. Let's just switch it off. So we're back to where we were. We're back to having all of our records displayed. Now, I did mention for the transactions when we're looking at the slide a moment ago that there is a find option as well. So when you type in, rather than just me do a search, what I could do is I could click find, and I could say, I suppose it's a way of applying a filter. So I could say, right, I'm looking for 100. I want you to search the net amount for me. And this time it enables you to scroll through the results. So if I click find first, it's not hiding anything at this stage, it's just scrolling through the records. So I'm looking for 100 within the net amount. And again, you've got various options. So I can search any. So it's found this one because it's 8,100. It's got that string of characters in there. If I search for whole, oh, it doesn't find it. So again, you got a number of different options for that one. It's just you might be familiar with that the find option if you've used the manual bank reconciliation option. It's a good way of like scrolling down your list to say, right, it's not that one. Find the next one that meets that criteria and search this field. So I think that's the only place that where you'll see the find option, either within transactions or within the bank reconciliation. Right, now the final option that I do want to cover with you in today's session, and it's been a very popular feature, this one, ever since it was introduced into the software. So popular originally that we did extend it. So inactive records. It was originally introduced so you could apply or flag records as being inactive to customers, suppliers, and also products and services. And because of the popularity and the feedback we received, it was extended to nominal codes and also the bank accounts list. Now, why would you use this option? Well, the idea of using inactive records is the ability to hide those records you just don't need to see. So we looked earlier at records that have a zero balance, hiding them. But there may be some regular customers, and it just so happens they've got a zero balance at this point in time. So you wouldn't want to hide those. But there will be probably loads on your list where you just think, well, actually, they were a one-off. I can't get rid of them because maybe they've got transactions on their activity. I don't want to clear the audit trail. So therefore, what option have you got? In the past, it would have been maybe renaming the account to say something like do not use or void account, and then applying a filter. But with inactive records, it makes it very easy. So it's the alternative to actually deleting them. You can just flag them as being inactive. Really easy to flag them. Now, certain records, so your customers, your suppliers, your nominal codes, bank accounts, products and services, they must meet specific criteria for you to be able to flag them. And to be able to flag them, which we'll run through a demonstration of this one in a moment as well, is there is a batch changes option. Now you don't have this in essentials, but the batch changes option can help you to flag multiple records simultaneously. So rather than going into one record, flagging as being inactive, going into the next one, flagging that one. You could just select all the records on the list and then use the batch changes. So that option isn't available in Essentials, but it is on the higher levels of the software. Now, once you've flagged your records as being inactive, which we'll see in the demonstration in just a second, there is an option to show or hide those records, meaning that you can quickly filter them from the list. And if you needed to, let's say you thought it was a one-off, but actually the customer comes back and buys something else from you, you can easily reactivate that record at any time. Now, there's loads of information. If you've downloaded the handout, these two big buttons that I've included on the slide at the bottom, they'll link to the relevant articles within the Help Center. But let's have a quick look at flagging records first of all. So back to my screen. I'll base it on customers because you're bound to have loads of these. So let's just get rid of the quick search. And as you can see, we've got no filters applied either. Now, to flag a record as being inactive, all you would do is you would go into that record and you've got this little inactive checkbox. So I tick the checkbox, click save, and assuming it meets the criteria, and I'll come back to the criteria in just a moment, but assuming it meets that criteria, it will flag it as being inactive. So in the inactive column, we've got a Y. And that means the more I flag, the more I can easily filter out of the list. We've got this little checkbox at the top, include inactive. If I take the tick out of that one, you'll see that account that we had there at the top, it hides it. Still there in the background. I can easily show it at any time just by ticking the box. So it's an option to toggle on, toggle off to show or hide them. Now, rather than go through each record individually to flag them, what I could do, let's say I just wanted to try and do it across the board. I could highlight everything and I could use the batch change option. Or I could go down and just manually select the records that I want to flag as being inactive. Into batch changes, flag it as being inactive, click save. As usual, message, you've chosen to make changes to multiple records. Do you want to save the changes? Yes, I do. Little progress bar. Now, this is where it comes back to the criteria, and it's telling me not all of the accounts could be set as being inactive. I'll come back to the criteria in a second, though, about that, what will allow you and what won't allow you to flag it. So you could click the link, but I'll come back to it. So I just OK that. And what we can see is I've got loads of records now that are flagged as being inactive. So if I want to hide those that are flagged as being inactive, take the tick out. They're still there in the background. Let's say I wanted to start using this one. I can always go back into the record, take the tick out, and it's no longer flagged as being inactive. So it removes that Y. That means when I hide the others, that account is still there in my list. So this option is available in customers. You've got it available to you in suppliers, nominal codes, bank accounts, and also products and services. Now, just going back to the slides for a moment, I just want to quickly pick up on the criteria, just as an example. And I just want to pick up on the customer criteria. If you need the other criteria for the other types of records, if you've downloaded the handout, then your button will work for the criteria link. So for a customer to be able to be flagged as being inactive, first of all, I think the obvious one, the account balance must be 0. If it's got a balance, you cannot flag it as being inactive. You must have no unallocated transactions. Now that may mean just tidying up your accounts a little bit. So a good example of that might be you've got an invoice for £100, you've got a credit note for £100. So the balance is 0, but unless those transactions are allocated to each other, it's not going to let you flag those transactions as flag the record as being inactive. There's also some more unusual criteria as well, like you mustn't have any recurring entries associated, whether that's a bank recurring entry, recurring invoice, recurring order, depending on the level of the software that you're on. And also mustn't be the default PO customer, and also quite an unusual option. Your company must not be in recording mode. So if anyone does use the account link, not a popular option, that one, but if anyone does use their account link and you're in recording mode, again, it won't let you flag records as being inactive. For all of that criteria, for all of the various types of records, it's all explained in our help center. So that's covered in quite some detail. But it's a fab option, that one. Once you start using that one, rather than sort of trying to filter them out, all these old accounts that you no longer use, just flag them as being inactive, and it's nice and easy to filter your lists then. Just makes it that much more manageable. You're not scrolling past loads of redundant accounts when you're trying to find the one that you're after. You've got them all hidden in the background. Right, okay. Now it brings us to the end of the demos. Obviously, Tina and Jackie have been picking up the questions so far. We'll continue to do that for the next 5 minutes or so. Keep your questions coming. We'll try and pick up as many as we can. I'll maybe join in with some of those, maybe some additional demos, etc. in a moment as well. Just wanted to quickly mention some of the upcoming webinars that we've got planned in as well. So again, if you're new to it, the numbers are for people attending webinars are certainly on the increase at the moment. So you'll generally see them advertised as you're coming into Sage 50. We tend to advertise them on a short-term basis, so you normally just see the ones that are sort of an advert for the one that's coming next. But watch out for your follow-up email, and it will include the links that you need. So if you want to check out what's coming over the month of November, watch out for that follow-up email. A couple that I'm running next week, chart of accounts. We'll be looking at that one on Wednesday, and we'll be following that up on Thursday. Both of those sessions are at 2 o'clock by having a look at the management reports as well. But loads of other sessions to look at as well. So we've got Tina on hand now, who's a report design expert. She'll be running through a number of different topics over the coming months to try and get you up to speed with that. We've got Jackie, who's going to be looking at CIS and the domestic reverse charge. We'll be looking at a range of other options as well. If you've got any suggestions as you leave the session today, there will be a little survey pop up. If you've got any thoughts you'd like to share with us, requests for topics you'd like to maybe see covered going forward, let us know. But again, if you're only new to webinars, do check out a list of recordings that we've got available, because as I say, we've been running those for just over a year now. So we've got quite a decent bank of recordings already available. So do check those out. Link is included on your follow-up email, which you get in round about an hour's time. Right, okay. Let me quickly thank you for your time, just for those of you that are about to leave. As I say, short exit survey will pop up as you leave. If you can take a minute to share any thoughts, ideas, feedback, etc. with us, that'd be greatly appreciated. We love reading those comments to see if we're hitting the mark. But again, any ideas you have or topics you'd like to see covered, pop those on as well. Follow-up email you'll receive in around about an hour's time. All the sessions are free to attend, and obviously recordings, you can access it anytime. So keep your links handy. Right, let's see if we can pick up some of the questions there. So quick question from Jane. I'll quickly pick this one up. I know Tina's answering that one, but I'll quickly pick that up as well. Jane's just asking about batch changes. So if I pop into customers, and it can depend on a number of things whether you see batch changes or not. Essentials, you do not have the batch changes option. So if it's telling you at the top you're on Sage 50 Cloud Accounts Essentials, you won't have the batch changes option. Any other level, then you should have it available. Now, batch changes may be a separate option, but if not, you'll have, normally your first icon, you'll have this grouped icon. So if I click on the drop down, you'll see batch changes grayed out at the moment, but if I highlight a couple of accounts, go back to it, you'll see batch changes is available. And that's the same in suppliers. You can see this time, because I've got enough space on the toolbar at the top, Batch changes is listed as a separate option. But because there are so many options in the customers area, you tend to find it's on the grouped one. So on that new edit, just on the drop down, you'll have batch changes. Now, Karen's picking up another question from Karen going back to inactive records, which is quite an interesting one, this one. So if you flag a record as being inactive, does that impact on your colleagues as well? The answer is yes. So if I flag a record as being inactive, I am setting information within the record itself. However, the include inactive, that checkbox at the top, or applying a filter or using the search option, that only impacts on my view. So it'll flag the record with that Y in the inactive column, but it means we can have different views. So if your colleagues on another PC, they would see, if they've got that inactive column displayed, they would see the Ys, any that are flagged, but they might have them displayed, you might not. So again, that's just down to your view, that one. Hope that makes sense. Right, any additional questions? You want to quickly pop them in if you do have any. I think we're just about covered all of them, I think, at this stage. Another quick tip from myself: if when you're working in your software, if you do lose your, if you all want to register for any of the webinars, or you just want to quickly see what's coming up, if you go to the home page and you've got this little panel here on your home page for the webinars. So if you click your link, and it'll launch your browser, take you across to the link that's also included on your follow-up email, but you'll be able to see what webinars are coming up. So that's the one you're on today. We've got VAT return tomorrow. We start with the report design sessions next week. Chart of accounts, Sage membership, management reports. We've got a quiz. If anyone wants to come along and test your knowledge on our quiz, please get yourself signed up. So maybe a bit of more of the fun side of Sage 50. Get yourself signed up for that one, and a number of other sessions as well. So keep an eye on it. Nice and easy to access. Right, okay, questions drying up, so I think we'll just end the webinar just at that point. Again, if you think of anything else, do check out the information available within our help centre, but other than that, you know where we are. Do get in touch. So thanks for coming along. Hope you found it useful, interesting. And as I say, if you do get a chance to complete the survey, I'd greatly appreciate it. Many thanks, take care, stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you again.